holding the government accountable on Capitol Hill, well, you've got Jerry Nadler's circus and clown shows in full gear. And today, the Democratic chairman of the House Judiciary Committee literally jumped the shark. Instead of passing laws or performing responsible oversight, Nadler instead, well, he invited the felon, the known perjurer, liar, John Dean, to testify. That's right, the John Dean, the convicted felon, turned partisan hack, turned fake news CNN conspiracy theorist. He was the big star witness today. But you might remember John Dean was once the White House counsel under Richard Nixon, where he was known as the master manipulator of the Watergate cover-up. He was accused of lying a whopping 19 times to federal prosecutors. I think he forgot that there were tapes. And, of course, obstructing justice. John Dean is a convicted felon. He was disbarred many decades ago for, quote, being guilty of unethical, unprofessional, and unwarranted conduct. Oh, disbarred too. Perfect guy for fake news CNN. Liar, fake news. Anyway, now the felon rakes in a lot of cash, trashing Donald Trump daily for the mainstream lying media mob. And because of his seedy track record and penchant for lying, well, he fits right in there. So naturally, of course, Jerry Nadler was more than happy to give this known liar, convicted felon, yet another platform. Let's take a look at the circus.
The last time I appeared before your committee was July 11, 1974. During the impeachment inquiry of Richard Nixon. In many ways, the Mueller report is to President Trump what the so-called Watergate Roadmap, officially titled the Grand Jury Report and Recommendation Concerning Transmission of Evidence to the House of Representatives, was to President Richard Nixon. Stated a little differently, Special Counsel Mueller has provided this committee with a roadmap.
Convicted felon, known liar, comparing a Republican president to Richard Nixon. By the way, this is how he now makes a living. It's nothing new for the disgraced CNN fake news mouthpiece. In fact, a few years ago, Dean wrote a book calling for the impeachment of, George W. Bush. And that book was entitled Worse Than Watergate. This is like a lie he uses over and over again and gets paid for doing the same thing. Well, before Dean was getting paid by CNN to trash Donald Trump, well, he was doing the exact same thing to former President Bush. He's a broken record. Play the loop. Take a look.
I have really never seen as secret a presidency as we now have. I think they found an old playbook down in the basement that belonged to Richard Nixon, and they said, well, this stuff looks like it works.
Be specific with me. What is worse than Watergate?
If there's anything that really is the bottom line, it's taking a nation to war in a time when they might not have had to go to war and people dying.
I wouldn't use the title worse than Watergate if I didn't truly believe that what's happening in this presidency is far worse than anything that did happen during the Nixon presidency.
Worse than Watergate, worse than Watergate, worse than Watergate. He gets paid for regurgitating the same stupid line over and over again as a convicted felon, as a known liar. And John Dean has been used as a prop by the mainstream media mob and the Democratic Party for years. Today's hearing was a sham, a circus. Democratic propaganda paid for by you, the American people. Earlier, Congressman Matt Gaetz, he had this to say to Nadler's star witness. Pretty big takedown. Let's take a look.
Do you have personal knowledge regarding the truth or falsity of a single material fact in the Mueller report?
I think if you recall, the first thing I said, I'm not here as a fact witness.
And throughout history, you accuse presidents of acting like Richard Nixon and you make money off of it, right?
Not all presidents.
Here we sit today in this hearing with the ghost of Christmas past because the chairman of the committee has gone to the Speaker of the House and sought permission to open an impeachment inquiry. But she has said, no, you are functionally here as a prop because they can't impeach President Trump because 70% of Democrats want something that 60% of Americans don't.
Checkmate. And Congressman Gaetz was just one of many Republicans who called out Dean and his self-serving, abusively biased testimony. Did I mention he was a felon and he obstructed justice? Take a look.
The corrupt cabal, what we see of Strzok, Page, McCabe, Comey, and others, how we actually got started here, I believe that they have the Godfather here today. Mr. Dean.
Now we got John Dean, 45 years ago, pled guilty to obstruction of justice, and now coming in to enlighten the Judiciary Committee on Obstruction of Justice when we could be going right to the start of how this whole thing started.
We're not just talking about your credibility as a witness.
you're a biased witness as well. You spent the last 45 years trying to rehabilitate yourself, and I don't blame you. And you've written numerous books. You've claimed multiple Republican administrations as being worse than Watergate.
Now, Mr. Dean, I have no problem with you having an opinion. You've paid your debt to society, and you've made your opinion clear. In the last 2 years, did you know you sent 970 tweets about Donald Trump? All 970 tweets about Donald Trump are anti-Donald Trump.
Did I happen to mention that John Dean was a liar, obstructed justice, and that he's a felon? And his testimony today just smacks of Democratic desperation. House Democrats want to impeach President Trump over a hoax. No collusion, no conspiracy, no obstruction. He's not a fact witness. The special counsel recommended no charges. The Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General,